My friends, there is a battle happening right now, a battle that does not take place on a distant battlefield, not in the streets, not even in your home. It is taking place in your mind. Every day, thoughts rise up against you, whispering lies, planting seeds of doubt, and dragging you into discouragement. The mind is a powerful thing. It is the command center of our lives. It directs our actions, determines our emotions, and shapes our future. But left unchecked, it can become the greatest enemy we will ever face. How many times have you found yourself trapped in worry, reliving failures, or drowning in negativity? How often do you allow fear to dictate your choices, or let doubt keep you from stepping into the purpose that has been set before you? The mind, left on its own, will always lean toward defeat. It will remind you of what went wrong, magnify your weaknesses, and convince you that you are not enough. But hear this, just because a thought enters your mind does not mean it belongs there. You are not required to accept every lie the enemy tries to plant in your heart. You do not have to dwell on every fear, every insecurity, every negative thought that tries to take root in your soul. The truth is, you have the power to take control of your mind. You have the ability to cast out fear, to reject lies, to silence negativity. The battlefield of the mind is won by choosing what you allow to stay and what you force to leave. You must guard your mind as you would guard your home. You would not allow a thief to enter your house and steal what is precious to you. Why allow toxic thoughts to rob you of your joy, your peace, your confidence? The enemy will always attempt to infiltrate your mind because he knows that if he can control your thinking, he can control your destiny. So today, take a stand. Choose to replace doubt with faith, fear with courage, and defeat with hope. Fill your mind with truth, with purpose, with vision, because when your mind is strong, your life will be unshakable. The greatest battles we face in life are not fought with our hands, nor are they waged in the physical realm. They take place in the quiet chambers of our minds, in the unseen war of thoughts that rage within us. The mind is where victories are won and where defeats are suffered long before they manifest in our actions. Every decision, every reaction, every fear, and every breakthrough begins in the mind. From the moment we wake up in the morning, thoughts flood our consciousness. Some are uplifting, filling us with energy and hope, while others weigh us down, whispering words of doubt and fear. The enemy of our souls knows this well. He does not need to place obstacles in our paths if he can first plant defeat in our minds. He does not have to rob us of our potential if he can make us believe we have none. How many times have we stood at the edge of an opportunity but pulled back because of fear? How often have we allowed past failures to shape our future choices? The battle does not begin when we take a step. It begins when we decide whether to take that step at all. If the mind is already filled with thoughts of defeat, hesitation will follow and opportunities will pass us by. If the mind has been conditioned to expect the worst, faith will wither and discouragement will settle in. The enemy's strategy is subtle. He does not come with chains to bind us physically. Instead, he whispers lies to keep us bound mentally. Thoughts of inadequacy, of past mistakes, of hopelessness, they become shackles that hold us back from stepping into the fullness of what we were created to be. We may think these thoughts are simply part of life, that they come and go without consequence. But what we dwell on determines the direction of our lives. The more we feed our minds with fear, the stronger fear becomes. The more we allow doubt to linger, the more paralyzed we become. It is not our circumstances that defeat us first, it is our thinking. Two people can face the same obstacle. One sees an impossible barrier while the other sees a challenge to overcome. The difference is not in the obstacle itself, but in the battle that took place within their minds long before they encountered it. Those who have won the battle internally will walk forward with confidence, while those who have lost it will hesitate, retreat, and eventually surrender. The enemy understands that if he can control our thoughts, he can control our actions. If he can plant doubt, he can stop us from pursuing our calling. If he can magnify fear, he can keep us from stepping out in faith. If he can make us believe that we are weak, we will never rise in strength. This is why the mind must be guarded diligently, just as a soldier guards a fortress. If the gates are left open, the enemy will invade. If the doors are left unprotected, deception will creep in unnoticed. We cannot afford to be passive in this battle. We must recognize when our thoughts are leading us into a place of defeat. We must become aware of the subtle ways in which negativity seeks to take root. The moment we entertain a thought of doubt, it begins to grow. The moment we allow fear to linger, it begins to spread. It is a battle that must be fought daily, moment by moment, with determination and vigilance. Strength does not begin in the hands, it begins in the mind. Courage is not first displayed in action, it is first chosen in thought. Victory does not happen by chance, it is won in the quiet decisions we make to reject the lies, to silence the fears, and to stand firm in truth. The battle is real and it is relentless. But the greatest battles, once won in the mind, lead to the greatest victories in life. The mind has a way of amplifying our fears, magnifying our weaknesses, and replaying our failures like a broken record that refuses to stop. It takes one negative thought, one lingering doubt, one whispered lie, and suddenly the heart becomes heavy, the spirit feels weak, and the steps that once felt sure begin to falter. What happens in the mind shapes what happens in life, and when negativity is allowed to take root, it brings forth a harvest of discouragement, hesitation, and ultimately defeat. It starts subtly. A thought enters, unchallenged, and makes itself comfortable. It reminds you of the mistakes of yesterday, the things you could have done differently, the opportunities you missed. It convinces you that your failures define you, that what went wrong before will go wrong again, that there is no use in trying because the outcome will always be the same. Over time, that thought grows into a mindset, and that mindset shapes the way you approach every challenge, every opportunity, and every dream. Negativity is like a chain. It does not simply weigh you down, it binds you. It limits what you see, how you think, and what you believe is possible. It makes you question your abilities, second-guess your decisions, and hesitate when you should be moving forward. It replaces faith with fear, confidence with insecurity, and hope with despair. The most dangerous thing about negative thoughts is that they often disguise themselves as truth. They sound reasonable, they sound logical, they remind you of past pain and use it as proof that you should not expect anything different in the future. They use past disappointments to convince you that dreaming is foolish, that stepping out in faith is reckless, that believing for more is a waste of time. But negativity is not truth, it is deception. It does not reveal reality, it distorts it. It takes a single failure and turns it into an identity. It takes a single setback and calls it the end of the story. It convinces you that what happened before is what will always happen, that change is impossible, and that no matter how hard you try, you will never rise above where you are. What the mind believes, the heart follows. If the mind is filled with fear, the heart will shrink in timidity. If the mind is filled with doubt, the heart will hesitate in uncertainty. If the mind is filled with defeat, the heart will refuse to fight. People do not quit because they lack strength. They quit because their minds have convinced them that they have already lost. The power of negativity is not just in the thoughts themselves, but in the way they shape actions. When a person believes they cannot succeed, they stop trying. When they believe they are unworthy, they refuse to step into the opportunities before them. When they believe they are destined to fail, they sabotage their own success before it even begins. Every great victory requires a mindset of victory. Every step of faith requires a mind that has been trained to reject fear. Every breakthrough requires a mind that is willing to believe that something greater is possible. The battle is not won when the action is taken. The battle is won when the mind chooses to believe in the possibility of success even when circumstances suggest otherwise. Thoughts of defeat are not harmless, they are powerful. They determine whether you rise or fall, whether you move forward or remain stuck, whether you embrace your purpose or let it pass you by. The mind, when left unguarded, will always lean toward fear, always drift toward doubt, always replay the past as if it is a prophecy of the future. But the truth is, negativity only has power when it is given permission to stay. The moment it is recognized for what it is, a thief, a liar, an enemy, it can be cast out and replaced with something greater. The thoughts that enter the mind are not beyond control. They do not have the authority to dictate the course of life unless they are allowed to stay. Every thought that comes is like a visitor knocking on the door. It can either be welcomed in or turned away. Too often, negative thoughts are embraced without question, given a seat at the table, and allowed to take up residence in the heart. But the truth is, they do not belong there. There is power in choice, and the mind is no exception. Thoughts of fear, doubt, and insecurity may come, but they do not have to stay. They may whisper their lies, but they do not have to be believed. Just as a gardener pulls weeds before they choke out the life of a garden, the mind must be tended to with care, ensuring that only what is true, uplifting, and purposeful is allowed to grow. The moment a thought appears, it must be examined. Does it bring strength or weakness? Does it push forward or hold back? Does it inspire faith or stir up fear? A thought that weakens, holds back, or breeds fear is not one that should be entertained. It is an intruder, an enemy disguised as reason, a seed that if planted will only bring a harvest of discouragement. People often assume that because a thought comes into their mind, it must be true, but that is one of the greatest deceptions. Not every thought is worthy of belief. Not every idea that enters the mind is a reflection of reality. Feelings of inadequacy may arise, but they do not define a person's worth. Thoughts of failure may linger, but they do not predict the future. Fear may whisper that the worst will happen, but fear is not a prophet of truth. Taking control of the mind requires discipline. It requires the willingness to stop, evaluate, and reject any thought that does not align with truth. It is not a one-time battle, but a daily practice, a continual effort to ensure that the mind remains a place of strength rather than weakness, of courage rather than fear. Just as a house must be cleaned regularly to prevent dust and clutter from taking over, the mind must be kept in order, with thoughts examined and removed if they do not belong. Some people live in a constant state of worry because they have allowed anxiety to take control. Others are trapped in self-doubt because they have never challenged the lies that tell them they are not good enough. Some remain stuck in the past because they have never replaced regret with the hope of a new beginning. The chains that hold them are not physical, they are the thoughts they have accepted as truth. Freedom begins in the mind. It begins when a person chooses to believe in possibilities rather than limitations, in strength rather than weakness, in hope rather than despair. It is not about ignoring reality, but about refusing to let negative thoughts dictate what is possible. There is power in deciding that not every fear deserves attention, not every doubt deserves consideration, and not every insecurity deserves a place in the heart. Training the mind is like training a muscle. It does not happen overnight, but with practice, it grows stronger. Each time a negative thought is rejected, the mind gains resilience. Each time doubt is silenced, confidence is built. Each time fear is replaced with faith, courage is strengthened. Over time, the battle that once seemed overwhelming becomes easier to fight, and the thoughts that once held power begin to lose their grip. The greatest victories in life begin with the ability to control what is allowed to remain in the mind. The power to reject what is harmful and embrace what is uplifting determines the course of actions, decisions, and ultimately destiny. The thoughts that are chosen today will shape the future, and those who master their minds will master their life. The mind is like a house, and what is allowed inside will determine the atmosphere within. If fear is invited in, it will take up space where peace should be. If doubt is given room, it will overshadow confidence. If negativity is permitted to linger, it will push out hope. The thoughts that are allowed to enter and remain will shape the course of life. That is why the mind must be guarded with diligence, just as a home is protected from unwanted intruders. A person would never leave their front door wide open for thieves to enter freely. They would not allow someone to walk in and steal their most valuable possessions without resistance. And yet, when it comes to thoughts, many leave the doors of their minds unguarded, allowing anything to come in and take root. The result is a life weighed down by worry, paralyzed by fear, and suffocated by discouragement. The greatest theft does not happen in the physical world. It happens in the mind when negative thoughts are given the freedom to control actions and emotions. Guarding the mind requires awareness. It means paying attention to what is being consumed, what is being listened to, what is being dwelled upon. Every conversation, every piece of information, every experience plants a seed. Some seeds grow into strength and confidence, while others grow into insecurity and fear. Just as a person would be cautious about what they allow into their home, they must be just as cautious about what they allow into their thoughts. Some thoughts appear harmless at first, a small worry, a passing doubt, a slight insecurity. It does not seem like much, but when left unchecked, these small thoughts begin to multiply. Worry turns into anxiety, doubt turns into hesitation, Insecurity turns into a deep-rooted belief of unworthiness. The mind, when left unprotected, will be filled with whatever is most familiar. And if negativity is the dominant voice, it will drown out every whisper of hope. Every thought must be tested before it is allowed to remain. Does this thought bring life, or does it bring fear? Does it encourage movement forward, or does it hold back? Does it build strength, or does it create weakness? If a thought does not contribute to growth, to faith, to courage, it does not belong. Just as a person would lock their doors against danger, they must lock their minds against anything that seeks to steal their peace. The battle is not just about removing negative thoughts, but about replacing them with what is true and uplifting. A house that is simply emptied but never filled again will not remain clean for long. The mind is the same. It must be filled with thoughts of faith, with words that bring life, with ideas that push toward purpose. Fear must be replaced with trust. Doubt must be replaced with confidence. Defeat must be replaced with expectation. People often wonder why their lives seem weighed down by heaviness, why they feel stuck in patterns of discouragement, why they struggle to find joy or peace. The answer is often found in the thoughts they allow to live in their minds. Just as the condition of a home reflects how well it is maintained, the condition of the mind reflects what has been allowed to take residence within it. Nothing changes until the mind changes. No breakthrough happens until the way of thinking is transformed. No lasting success is built on a foundation of fear, and no life of purpose is lived under the shadow of doubt. What is tolerated in the mind will manifest in life. And if fear is given a place, it will take control. If negativity is entertained, it will shape decisions. If insecurity is believed, it will limit potential. The only way to step into the fullness of what is possible is to be intentional about guarding the mind. It is not a passive task, but an active commitment. It is choosing every day to be mindful of what is being allowed inside, what is being meditated on, and what is being believed. It is recognizing that the greatest battle is not fought with physical weapons, but with the discipline of the mind. The doors must remain locked against what does not belong, and only what builds strength, confidence, and purpose should be given a place. A person's life is shaped by the thoughts they consistently entertain. The direction of their future is not determined by chance or circumstance alone, but by the beliefs they hold, the words they speak over themselves, and the way they see the world around them. When the mind is filled with doubt, fear, and insecurity, life reflects that same pattern. Hesitation replaces action, opportunities are missed, and confidence erodes. But when the mind is strong, when it is trained to reject negativity and embrace faith, a person becomes unshakable, able to withstand challenges and move forward with purpose. Everything starts in the mind. Strength does not first appear in actions, but in thoughts. A person who believes they can rise above challenges will find a way to overcome. A person who believes they are powerless will accept defeat before the battle even begins. This is why the battle of the mind is the most important one a person will ever fight. Everyday thoughts will attempt to dictate how the day will go, whether it will be filled with hope or overshadowed by fear, whether confidence will lead the way or hesitation will hold things back. The thoughts that win will determine the reality that follows. People often wait for their circumstances to change before changing their mindset. They believe that when success comes, then they will feel confident. When the struggle ends, then they will feel peace. When the situation improves, then they will think positively. But this is a backwards way of thinking. The truth is, change starts internally before it ever manifests externally. The person who chooses faith in the middle of uncertainty will see doors open that others miss. The person who trains their mind to think in possibilities rather than limitations will walk through challenges with strength rather than fear. Resilience is not something a person is simply born with. It is something they cultivate by choosing how they think. Every difficulty presents two choices: to focus on the obstacle or to focus on the opportunity within it. Those who have learned to strengthen their minds will see setbacks as setups for growth. They will not allow fear to paralyze them or discouragement to control them. Their foundation is solid because it is built on a mindset that refuses to be shaken by temporary difficulties. This does not mean challenges will not come. It does not mean fear will never try to creep in, but a strong mind does not surrender to fear, it confronts it. A disciplined mind does not allow anxiety to dictate choices. It stands firm in truth. A person who has mastered their thoughts will not be easily swayed by uncertainty because they have already decided that their peace, their confidence, and their purpose are not dependent on circumstances, but on the foundation they have built in their minds. The difference between those who rise above and those who remain stuck is not always found in talent, resources, or intelligence. It is found in the way they think. A person who believes they are limited will never push beyond their perceived boundaries. A person who believes they are capable will continue moving forward even when the path is difficult. The thoughts that dominate the mind become the reality that unfolds. No great victory has ever been won by a person who first lost in their mind. No breakthrough has ever come to someone who surrendered to doubt before taking a step. The ones who achieve, who grow, who inspire others to do the same are not necessarily the ones with the easiest path, but the ones who refuse to let their minds be controlled by fear. This is why it is essential to fill the mind with thoughts that build rather than tear down, that strengthen rather than weaken. Fear will always try to whisper its lies, but it does not have to be believed. Doubt will always try to sneak in, but it does not have to be entertained. Every person has the power to decide what stays in their mind and what is cast out. And the ones who guard their thoughts, who choose faith over fear, who refuse to let temporary struggles dictate their future, will stand unshakable no matter what comes their way. The greatest battles in life are not fought in the physical world, but within the mind. Every victory, every breakthrough, every moment of triumph begins with a single decision to take control of what is allowed to take root in the thoughts. Fear, doubt, and negativity will always attempt to steal purpose, confidence, and peace, but they only have power when they are given permission to stay. The mind can be a person's greatest enemy or their greatest ally. It can hold them back or propel them forward. It can imprison them in fear or set them free in faith. The choice is theirs. Every day is an opportunity to reject the thoughts that weaken, to silence the voices that discourage, and to embrace the truth that they are stronger than their fears, greater than their doubts, and capable of more than they have ever imagined. No one has to live in the shadow of fear. No one has to be bound by the chains of insecurity. No one has to accept a life dictated by negativity. The power to rise, to overcome, and to walk in purpose begins in the mind. And when a person chooses to stand firm, to guard their thoughts, and to believe in the possibilities that lie ahead, nothing can shake them, nothing can break them, and nothing can stop them from stepping into the life they were meant to live.